You'll make this rather snappy, won't you? I have some very heavy thinking to do before 10 o'clock.
Good evening, world. Welcome into Greenie Sports Cards Live, the world's first multi-stream broadcast for the hobby industry. We have been coming to you now for over a year from when this launched last January, and week over week, if my math is correct, well over 52 weeks plus at this point, where we've been bringing you hobby news and special guests. We've been fortunate to talk to coaches and players and athletes and influencers. And that train will continue rolling tonight, where we're going to welcome Brad Beeman back to the show to talk about the Shipshewana Card Fest coming up here in a few short 23 days, I believe, ish. But who's counting other than Brad and everybody else interested in that show, with hundreds and hundreds of dealers and tables and really cool stuff. So we're looking forward to talking to Brad a little bit later. And quick programming note, Cam Justice was going to join us tonight. She's going to follow up next week. She got called into special duty for covering the Cleveland Cavaliers, who would take on the Boston Celtics tonight. So we'll have to flip Cam out and talk to her next week. But we have a coast-to-coast show for you this evening. Greenie is out west, so we're going to see if we can pull this off with most of us over here in the Northeast Ohio area. Greenie out in Arizona, and let's go ahead and welcome in the man himself. Greenie, what's going on?
Hey, Jeremy. I think last year at this time, because my mother's birthday is the same time every year, we had a show live on her day, but we decided as a family to come and surprise my mother for her birthday this weekend. So my sister's here and I'm here, and my aunt who lives here, and then another aunt that lives in Cincinnati. So we are all here in Phoenix, Arizona. Sunny, warm Phoenix, Arizona, mind you. Sorry to tell you.
Yeah. Although it's starting to melt a little bit out here, and when you go from minus 15 to 45, that's
it's a heat wave.
Significant swing. So
that's right. That's right.
But it is warming up. The trucks here in Cleveland for Cleveland Guardians left to head out your way to Arizona. Pitchers and catchers report, I believe, on Valentine's Day, the 14th, and they'll get rolling a couple days after that. So we're not that far from baseball.
We're not. Like I said, I know that they won't be out there, but I'm sure my dad and I will take a ride out and just walk around the stadium. I know the team shop is open, so we like going there and just checking it out. And you can walk. Sometimes it's actually open, and you can just walk around the ballpark here in Goodyear for a little bit and just feel like it's baseball time.
Very, very cool. The dude chimed in with a reference to your shirt. It is an awesome shirt. Commemorating the Ohio State University National Championship. They played like a champion on that day.
They did.
Another terrific rendition from GV Art, our friends at GV Art, George and Greg Losich. Those guys don't miss.
They don't, and incredibly, they had designs ready to go for Ohio State to win, and this was not one of their designs. And it just, again, I played like a champion today. We've all seen that at Notre Dame. It is no secret they didn't make that up, but they actually, turned it into played like a champion today, and put the Ohio on there, and so I mean, it's really cool. We actually, we're ecstatic because we're Buckeyes, and they won that game. And I saw this shirt and I was like, yeah, I have to have that. And ironically, I posted the link and I thanked GV Art for it. They shared it on Twitter. And then like I got a whole bunch of comments that said the link is down, it's sold out already. But it happens when you're that popular.
Well, you got yours, it
I
appears.
did. I did.
Very, very cool. Excuse me. I mentioned Cam Justice, who was going to join us tonight, is going to move to next week. We're also looking forward to welcoming another special guest next week, Izzy Geraci. This will be a very cool conversation. She is a national champion flag football player, former Division I basketball player turned flag football. So we're going to get a chance to talk to Izzy and learn about this growing sport. I believe it's an Olympic sport these days. And she's a heck of an athlete.
Yeah, no question. Ironically, you mentioned she played Division I college basketball. She's from our area here, Cleveland, Northeast Ohio. She went to North Ridgeville High School, and when she graduated, she was the all-time leading scorer in basketball at North Ridgeville. And ironically, we have a girl that plays at Ball State that has a Greenie Sports Cards NIL trading card, and Grace Kingery, who broke Izzy's record at North Ridgeville, and she is now at Ball State. And, I had a chance to meet up with her a few weeks ago when they were playing here at Kent, and she signed the trading cards that we have out there. But it's kind of a small world, and how people are interconnected.
Yeah, and even further to that point, we're going to have a chance to head over to the Greater Cleveland Sports Awards this Thursday. It's actually the 25th anniversary of the Greater Cleveland Sports Awards. It's an unbelievable production put on by the Sports Commission as a part of Destination Cleveland, the CVB here. Grace Kingery is actually up for High School Athlete of the Year for the previous year. So even though we will have some media hats on, I think there's going to be a quiet rooting interest for her to win, and would love to celebrate that. Last year, Destiny Leo took home Collegiate Female Athlete of the Year, and well deserved for her efforts. So yeah, we're looking forward to this Thursday with that event. We've got Chris Rose in town and Jay Crawford, and kind of a who's who of Cleveland athletes and media. There's going to be I believe a 1995 retrospective with the Cleveland Indians. So very cool stuff.
Yeah, that will be terrific. I know Drew will be there with you, and you guys will capture a lot of footage, and Haley will be on the ready, and that'll be edited, and we'll have stuff up on Friday, and then next Tuesday's show, kind of going over the sports awards there. And I know Holly Rowe, I think, was the MC last year, if I remember. Is that what Chris Rose is doing this year?
So it's a little bit of a different format this year. Chris will be hosting a fireside chat with the Indians players. And I think it's more about celebrating the 25 years of this event and all of the great moments that have happened in Cleveland sports up until then. So we'll see. We're going to get a chance to talk to some people and cover the event, and looking forward to that. It's for our money, literally and figuratively, the Sports Commission here in Cleveland is the pinnacle, one of the best and well-run organizations in that space, and they're kind of the benchmark for those types of organizations around the country. They attract a lot of events. When you see the All-Star games that come to Cleveland, the Final Fours, lots of those tournaments, volleyball tournaments, wrestling tournaments,
tennis in the land. That was a big deal.
Yep. Sports Commission is right at the heart of that. It's a multi-million-dollar enterprise of attracting economic impact to the city. So we appreciate everything they do, and looking forward to that event. So speaking of events, we we've got some news to share on the Mountain State Collectors Convention. Of course, that's going to take place May 16th through 18th at the Charleston Coliseum and Convention Center, a new event produced by Greenie Sports Cards. And you've got some news to share along those lines.
We do. That show will run Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And we've been in contact with the Charleston Dirty Birds, which is an independent baseball team. They were a minor league affiliate years ago, but they've gone to independent, and they have a 5,000 seat stadium. She said, like, just shaded less than a mile away from the convention center where we're holding the card show. And I mean, it was a great opportunity to have them involved in the show, and why not have a trade night Saturday at the stadium, which is also fireworks night too. So their game is at 6:30. We decided to run the show up until 5 on Saturday, give people and kids and everybody a chance to get over to the ballpark. And I think they're going to run a special on tickets. We'll have links on that. So you have to have a ticket to get into the game. But really, I think they said the most expensive ticket's like $10 or $9, something like that. So we're going to have an area in right field. They'll put tables up. We'll just have a good old trade night watching a ball game and, see some fireworks after.
Very cool. And then that event, as you said, the 16th through 18th, there isn't an event, a collectible event on this size and scale in the area. So really looking forward to that one and seeing what type of experience that'll be. And
yeah, it should be fun.
That,
yeah, I was gonna say, what a large venue this is, Jeremy. And I know, the Great Lakes show is 50,000 square feet. I believe this convention center is a little bit bigger, and there's a capability of 500 tables at this show, and we've priced them accordingly for $100 for the weekend. So, I mean, a 3-day show, $100 8-foot table is probably the most affordable large show in the country. And, we're hoping to bring people from all over. I mean, the airport is literally a 5-minute drive to the Civic Center. And I think we did the math, and there's like 10 big cities within a 4 to 5 hour drive with, Louisville and Indianapolis and even I think Raleigh or somewhere, Charlotte, I think actually is not that far. And the DC is like 6 hours. So, Cleveland, Columbus, Pittsburgh, there is no shortage of people within however many hours, 4 or 5 hours of Charleston, West Virginia. And I mean, who knows? I mean, and we already have, I think, 4 sponsors already, with even more coming, and the Dirty Birds are on there. And we've had an influx of Pokemon dealers, and we're going to talk to Brad about that as well. But I mean, it's a huge thing is the Pokemon, the TCG, the Lorcana, and sports, and bringing them all together. It's just going to be one massive card show.
Yes, really looking forward to that one. Before that, you've got another major show, Great Lakes Collectors Convention. This will be the 3rd iteration, April 25th through 27th. You said that's 50,000 square foot room in Independence, Ohio, which is essentially Cleveland, just outside the city limits in between the airport. Extremely accessible in this part of the region. And so that's going to be very cool. One of the things to mention on that is, speaking of sponsors, welcoming a new sponsor to the fold that will be a part of that event and supporting Greenie Sports Cards. Talk about SGC.
Yeah, a grading company, SGC Sports Cards Guarantee. They've been around for years and years, and one of the mainstays in the vintage sports. But they've moved into everything, and they will be taking submissions on hand there. That'll save you the one-way shipping, and they'll take those back and they'll get them graded. I think their turnaround dates are like 10 business days or something. They're one of the best, and they are in the big 3 of grading card companies out there. And we're happy to have them there taking submissions live, answering questions. Also, you saw on that flyer next is TNT, who we've had in the past. Brad has them at his show in Shipshewana, and they do a phenomenal job with group submissions, and they'll be doing PSA and Beckett. They'll even take your SGC submissions. And I know that they are very friendly and get along very well with SGC. Tyler and Brian Tyler's at TNT, Brian at SGC, and they know each other very well. So there'll be no shortage of ways to get your cards graded at the Great Lakes.
At the Great Lakes Collectors Convention, April 25th, 26th, and 27th. So mentioned it is a coast-to-coast show tonight with Greenie out in Arizona. A little bit of a spotty connection, but we'll get him back and continue to talk some hobby news and events. And speaking of events, we'll go ahead and welcome in Brad Beeman at this time. Brad Beeman of B Sports and the Shipshewana Card Fest. Brad, thanks again for coming back to Greenie Sports Cards Live.
Hey, man. Thanks so much for having me on, and always love the show and honored to be back.
So let's talk Shipshewana. You've got a new venue, as I understand. I have a feeling I know the answer. What prompted the move to this space?
Yeah, super excited. We're just across the street at the Michiana Event Center. I mean, literally one stoplight away from what we affectionately called the barn. And honestly, the show kept growing and growing, and we were blessed by that. But we were getting to the point where people said it's too full. The aisles and everyone's wearing a backpack, and we were jamming 218 tables into 20,000 square feet, and it just got to the point where it was becoming uncomfortable. So it was time to make the move to a bigger building. The building we're moving into, thankfully, is 100,000 square feet. We have used 60,000 of the 100,000 square feet, but it's awesome to know that as the show grows, that we can grow without moving again. And hopefully the good Lord blesses us to be a 100,000 square foot show at some point. But we're really excited to almost triple the floor space, have a dedicated trading zone, which we're excited about, and just give everyone more room to operate. And we're just hoping for we're really excited about it.
How big is this parking lot?
So this parking lot, obviously, when you got past about 200 spots, maybe less than that at the barn, you are parking in the grass or you parking at a shopping center. Right. I think there's a good 700-800 parking spots, but then this building has some auxiliary lots as well. So you might have to walk a little bit, but should be ample parking just, for everyone on Friday night and Saturday. Shouldn't be like, when you were 2 football fields away and having to cross through a park or anything else to get over to the show. I think the collectors will be really excited the parking's a much better situation than it used to be.
What was the decision to go to a second day?
Yeah, I think it's just the scaling of a show. And, Greenie and Jeremy, you can attest to this. There's just, you're limited in some respects as a one-day show. Obviously, we're super successful as a one-day show. We could have continued on like that. But I think when you go to 2 days, you start getting the attention of the SGCs who are you should be thrilled to have out to your show. You start to get the attention of some different people across the country. We have dealers coming in. We've always had a dealer come up from Texas. We've had a dealer come up from Florida, but also had a lot of feedback that, hey, I'd love to do your show. If you ever go 2 days, let me know. So, we got a dealer coming in from Colorado, California, a couple from New York City. It just really makes travel, it makes your show more accessible, more common sense decision for the dealer to come in. Plus, just the economics of the show, not to be too much inside baseball, but when you can spread out costs and, maybe raise table prices a bit to offset the new building, and it just really helps to have that second day to spread things out and help you with the economics of a show.
What I love about a second day is for the customers, because you're going to put, I don't know, what is it, 300 some tables in there. You can't see that in 6 hours if you're a customer. So now you can come on Friday and, you can kind of make a weekend of it. I mean, Shipshewana is a great place. You can bring a family, and, now they have Friday where they can come for a couple hours before the trade night and they can see everybody, and then kind of like, figure out what they want to do on Saturday. So I love the idea of 2 day shows when you're that big, It just gives the customer more of a chance to get around to everybody.
Well, and we had the confidence to do it, Greenie, because, you know, to fill up 50,000 square feet, we're going to need more than 800 or 900 people to see us on Friday night. But we were getting 800 to 900 people to our trade night already on Friday night.
Right.
So and people would say, well, this feels like a show already. And so it gave us a lot of confidence that the show could support a second day. So we're hoping not only does it support it, but it's a growth mechanism so that the show and the dealers has that many more collectors, and it makes it a lot more make sense to people to come spend the night, hang out with us for a couple of days, and really dig through those dollar boxes and get through the show more than they used to be able to.
Yeah, no question.
Brad, you've had a couple years now of this show and its evolution, and we talked previously about the experience side and all the stakeholders of that you have to serve, whether that's dealers, sponsors, attendees. What have you learned? What have you learned over the last couple of years as a producer that you're excited about to take into this year's show?
Yeah, I think it's probably that trade night for multi-day shows. I think that trade night, how do you let the collectors be the dealer for a little bit? I think there's an economy inside of a show or a money cycle inside of a show. And I think you got to let the collectors have their turn, not just walking up to tables, but actually at trade night to, you know, cash flow some of their trip. And so it's that balance. And I'm sure you guys think about this a lot too, of how do we respect our dealers? How do we give them the bang for their buck? Because let's be honest, the show is paid for by dealer tables. Sponsorships are nice, but the root of how you pay for a show is through the dealer tables. How do you respect them and take care of people that take care of you, but also make the show attractive as possible to collectors and show them not only do we have first-class dealers, but we also have an opportunity for you from 8 to 10 p.m. on Friday night to come and wheel and deal and kind of play dealer yourself for a bit. So it's that balance. I think that's what we're learning, and we may not have hit it, you know, perfectly this show, but we'll keep adjusting and make sure that we're providing everything everyone wants out of a show.
You know, we are both our own worst critics when it comes to shows. I know you are, and I know I am, and Jeremy is, because we've had these conversations. There will be so many things that people won't even notice that you'll notice, and we'll know, not I, but you'll notice about your show. We notice about our show. And I like that because we take it back after and we talk about it, and that's how you make your shows better. And people don't even know that.
Yeah, and it's every little thing, right? It's like, did I have enough signage pointing people to the restrooms? Did I have, I mean, it's every little thing, but I think that's the process of improvement, right? Like, you're never going to put on the perfect show. So you take those lessons from each show. And then, you know, Ryan Johnson's my partner now, and I've told him, like, it's just not going to be perfect because this is a new venue. The venue is going to tell us you know what I mean? It's going to tell us our mistakes. We're going to miss opportunities we could have capitalized on. We're going to assume certain things, and we're going to find out that was a bad place to put a table because there's a draft there, or, you know, the 100 different things that you learn. So you're right. We will nitpick, but I think that makes a good promoter. I think if you have a promoter who just throws out tables, and if people come, so what? Or if mistakes are made, so what? I don't think those shows grow. I think the ones that grow are the ones that continuously try to improve itself. Yeah,
no question. And a lot of those people won't even know any of those things that you're nitpicking about yourself. So, yeah. And that's what makes it great. And you can tweak things and nobody will know. And, you know, it makes it just that much better. Tell us about your sponsors and who is come in and who helps bring some of these things to the show.
Yeah, so we changed up our sponsorship model. In the past, sponsorship was based on, I mean, a very, very oldest way you could do it. Someone would come up and go, "Hey, I love the show. Can I sponsor?" And I would try to find a value proposition because I never wanted to just take money and put their name on the flyer. I wanted to give them some sort of benefit at the show, whether that be priority tables, whether that be TNT has been the official group submitter of the Shipshawana Card Fest as long as we've been a show. So we did a little different where we created a sponsorship section. So we really based it on, hey, if you buy tables in this section, you're a sponsor. And we had some great some great sponsors step up. Logan Harris, name some of the Ohio guys, because I know you guys are very Ohio based. Logan Harris, GR8 Sports Cards, who's a tremendous dealer. Brent Shannon, who's, in my opinion, one of the up and coming dealers in the country. Our friends up in Michigan, TNT, and we have 9 total sponsors. All of them we're super happy to be associated with. Trading Card Brothers, just a bunch of guys that you probably recognize because you put on quality shows and get those same quality dealers. But yeah, we're super excited to have them. The sponsorship model is something also we'll continue to look at. You know, we always want to make sure we provide value back. We don't ever want to be the show that just takes someone's money. We want to make sure there's a payoff for them. And it's so vital when you go from a building that has 5 times the expenses of the old building you were in to have partners that believe in you. And they're taking a leap of faith on us, right? Like, this is a new building. This is a new show. But we had 9 great partners step up and sponsor us. And we're super excited to make sure we're going to be blasting out across all of our socials for the next 20 some days how happy we are to have them on board.
And you're right, they are quality dealers, and we know them, and these guys are the ones that are in the forefront, and they're around. They are all over the country and making deals, wheeling and dealing. And I know you guys are happy to have them, and I know that a lot of people, when they see them, are happy to see that they're there. So yeah, the sponsorships are great for things like that. But they're different than corporate sponsors. And I know you're starting to do that with a corporate row, which I think is very prevalent in a lot of shows. And tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we really want the corporate row to be a differentiator for us in the sense that I think a lot of shows provide buying and selling, but I think pushing service is going to be a huge opportunity for us, pushing ancillary products, and just really focusing on making sure a collector has all their needs met by coming to the show. And you know, you guys do the same thing as I do. You stay up at night thinking, what could get 5 more people to come to my show? You know, you think that every day. What could get 10 more people to come to my show? And it's things like SGC. You know, maybe a guy's like, I've got all the cards I need, but I do need to grade some cards. And so we're looking to do things like that and have companies out. And one of the companies we have coming out is Zion. The headquarters is coming out. They're offering 10% off to anyone at the show who buys at the show, doing some custom work as well. So we just want to continue to add to that. We believe JSA will be out to authenticate items. So that is something I think we could grow the most, the area we could grow the most in. I hope this time next year, I'm telling you, hey, you know, we have 10 companies like that out, not just 2 or 3, but we're starting with a small corporate row and really hoping to expand it just so that collectors have no reason not to come out to the show.
Brad, do you get to enjoy your show while it's taking place, or is it all just a blur and you survive it and then you sort through the rubble?
So I would be interested, like if we ever had a promoter roundtable, to see how laid back people are about their show. I'm super laid back and work very, very hard on it until about 2 nights before. And I'll be super honest with everyone on the stream here. I do not sleep but 2 or 3 hours for the 2 nights before the show. You know, I'll even have dreams that no one showed up. It's really, that's my least favorite part of being promoters, is the 2 nights before the show. And my favorite part of the show is, you know, say 2-day show, it's 2:00 in the afternoon and you've just had a madhouse through for 2 days and you know you've done right by your collectors and your dealers. That's when I really enjoy those last 2 hours. I'll actually let myself shop. But no, we kind of do ours on a skeleton staff. So my wife, myself, we will get some support from the CC2 team this time. So I'll feel like I have some extra folks to help me out, but we're constant motion, but it works for me. I never sit still, but I think that's nervous energy. So I'm fine with it. But the day after the show, I'm definitely, I don't do much because I'm exhausted. So I'm a ball of energy. I would love to get it so well ran one day that I can set up and do what I really love to do, which is buy, sell trading cards. But I'm too nervous and too too much nervous energy to sit and sell, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's taken us a team of people to help with us so that we can actually set up our buying and selling of cards as well. And our monthly shows and our quarterly shows, I walk the room and I play ball cards. I buy and sell. But at the independent show, it's the entire team behind the table. They're the ones doing all the wheeling and dealing, and Jeremy and I are promoters, and Jeremy more so is the producer. I mean, the big stage that we put on. So you're right. Sunday night, and I know yours is Saturday night, ours ends on Sunday night, but either way, it's a feel good,
Yes.
when it's 4 or 5 o'clock. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the hobby's really good about. I mean, they're really good about telling you when you didn't do well too. But the hobby's amazing. I mean, this you're tired, but you ran a great show, and then you go on your Instagram and your Facebook and all the kind words. Like you're like, okay, this is why we do what we do, because a lot of people had a lot of fun this weekend.
Yeah, the best and worst part. So celebrating that victory at 4 o'clock on Sunday, but then realizing you still have to tear the entire place down is
that's one thing that's been
sobering
nice.
thought.
Is just in the last, I've been doing this. This will be my 5th year. Just in the last 2 or 3 shows, I've been able to hire people to set up and tear down. Now I still label tables old-fashioned way with painter's tape, and I'm just old school that way. But that's been nice, because there's nothing worse than being completely exhausted and realizing you have 200 tables and chairs to put up.
We've had the good fortune of having some college kids come and help us with the setup and tear down. I go, and I told this to Jeremy and our guys, it's a college fraternity when I was in. The undergrads, they come and we donate money to them to help, and they're going to be out of town at their spring formal during our show, which I told them they might have to cancel.
Time to join another fraternity.
That's right. It's time to join a new one. But yeah, we'll have to look elsewhere. But college kids, that is the way to go. They hustle.
I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah. I don't know how many college kids are in Shipshawana, but
right. Maybe get some folks over from Notre Dame, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They got young legs and solid backs. So
right.
Well, you guys, you both like playing ball cards. Let's talk about that for a little bit.
Sure.
There's some news this week. Obviously, the shocking news from the NBA of the trade of Luka Doncic over to the Lakers. This jumped out at me. eBay searches jumped 1,150% after the trade. I want to ask you guys both, what does something like this do to the market? A lot of people talk about the trade and what it'll do for the actual games and how it affects the dynamic of the teams. But what does a big trade like this do to the memorabilia market?
Brad, I wish this happened the day of one of my shows. I'm sure you feel the same way, that this happened during trade night and then the following day, right? Because things like this, when this happens, I mean, if he was traded to the Minnesota Timberwolves, but he was traded to the Los Angeles Lakers, and he's with LeBron, and he's arguably one of the top 5 players in the league when healthy. But being traded to the Lakers, you see with the searches on eBay, people want to buy his cards.
Yeah, I would say, in a year when they say I don't track this myself, but the rumors and the grumblings are the NBA ratings are down. And I think the basketball prices have been stagnant. I mean, it's the best thing that could possibly happen. The De'Aaron Fox trade to San Antonio, this trade, Wemby playing so well, the basketball market needed a jolt. And my goodness, we probably got one of the top 3 trades that have ever happened in sports or in basketball, as far as megastars switching teams. And I think it's going to do. It was needed, because that market was a little bit quiet, and I would assume that in Shipshawana here in about 2.5 weeks, I'll be hearing people talk about Luka Doncic cards.
Yeah, no question. I'll say it again. I just said it a second ago. I would have loved for this. I don't remember what day it happened. Was it on a weekend? But can you imagine if this happened while the card show was going on? My God.
Do you remember, it was at the National, I think it was 2 years ago, there was something that happened in training camp. Was it Joe Burrow or someone got hurt? And it was
right.
literally like, I felt like I was on the New York Stock Exchange. It was like sell, sell, sell because of that energy. So I would assume you're right. Like if you're in the middle of the show and that starts beeping on people's phones, all of a sudden Lucas are flying out of cases.
Yeah. Well, the trade deadline, I think, is Thursday. So whatever show is coming up this weekend, there's not going to be a trade like, well, you shouldn't say that. You have no idea now, right? You can always say, well, there's never going to be a trade like that. And then overnight, Luka Doncic gets traded, right? So is nobody safe?
It would make you think that, right?
Probably LeBron might be the only, because he has
he makes the decisions.
Yeah. There was some other big trade news that came out in our area, and it hasn't happened yet, but Myles Garrett has demanded a trade from the Cleveland Browns, not unsurprisingly. What does something like that do in anticipation? This is a guy who's been in the same uniform his entire career. He's going to be, in all likelihood, a first ballot Hall of Famer, but he may end up in a Detroit Lions jersey or San Francisco 49er jersey or something else. So what does that look like in anticipation of a big move?
Hard to say. I mean, obviously we're Cleveland fans, so I don't have a lot to say about the card. I have a lot to say about the team. Yeah, it depends, right? If he goes to the Lions and that's, but if he gets traded to, I don't know, the New York Giants.
Carolina. Yeah.
Right. Carolina. I don't know what that probably would really hurt his cards quite a bit.
Yeah, I feel like, and this is my own theory. You guys can feel free to shoot it down. I feel like with offensive linemen and defensive players, the collectability of those cards come from the fan base that drafted them. Almost like that, I'll use a Cleveland, that Joe Thomas kind of thing where someone loves that player. I'm a huge Quentin Nelson fan for the Indianapolis Colts. I almost wonder if it'll have not much impact. Maybe a certain level of spike to the card for the first 2 weeks after the trade, and then really nothing. So I don't believe that those positions really fluctuate all that much compared to if it was a quarterback moving teams, if it was a running back moving
no question. I think the only difference is that this guy's a generational player.
True.
If it's, and Joe Thomas was too, that you brought up, but like, the Browns traded Zadarius Smith in the middle of the year to Detroit. Who cares? Right. Yeah. Nobody. And Zadarius Smith is a Pro Bowler, right? He's not a nobody. I mean, he's a very good player, but yeah, his cards. But the Khalil Mack cards, I guess, didn't really have huge spikes. I mean, and he's probably on a Hall of Fame trajectory, right? I mean, but Myles Garrett was the number 1 pick. He's a defensive player of the year. He might even win it again this year. I don't know, but it's.
So, Jeremy, you being closer to the situation, is it the organization that he's not happy with, or is it he just doesn't see a championship run in the near future?
It's probably both. He doesn't see the team competing at the highest level for the foreseeable future, certainly in his remaining prime years. Haley pulled up the letter that Myles Garrett shared earlier, and there's the last line in there so Andrew Berry, the GM, had made a comment earlier this season where he said, we fully intend to keep Myles around. We believe his pathway is Cleveland to Canton. And so he said, Myles said, the goal was never to go from Cleveland to Canton. It has always been to compete and win a Super Bowl. So he didn't have to say that. That very clearly is a dig at Andrew Berry. So I think he's not happy. He was not happy with the Watson trade. There is sources have said there have been incidents in the locker room. There was a big incident in the locker room where they got into it physically, and it's not a good situation. And so you're looking at the Deshaun Watson trade. Not only on its surface level is the single worst trade in all of sports for what they gave up, the picks, the talent they got in return, the money, the guaranteed contract, but what the organization did was divide the fan base, a very, very loyal fan base, and they divided the locker room. And the collateral damage of that is Za'Darius Thomas getting traded. It's Amari Cooper getting traded. It's your generational player demanding out. So, yeah, it's the organization.
Yeah, I know Cam couldn't make it on tonight, but she's reports for the Browns, and I was hoping to be able to ask her some of these questions. You know, we have a lot of media friends that we've talked to. And Jeremy, I'm sure you've been living it the last 2 days at your office. When somebody like this says that they want to leave your team, the team that drafted him, because he sees no chance of winning, and he's 29 years old. Like, this is not a guy at the end of his career. This is a guy that has another 7, 8, 10 years left.
Yeah, so the collateral damage of even that move. So now your best player, your defensive leader, arguably he's not the most vocal guy, but he shows it on the field. He wants out, and there's still a lot of twists and turns to come on this. He's not the first player to demand a trade that has come back to the team. David Njoku came back. Kareem Hunt came back after demanding a trade. But yeah, this I think in some ways he kind of did them a favor, breaking this now before the draft, before free agency. So you just got to go get what you can. Now the flip side of that is the Cleveland Browns won 3 games with Myles Garrett on the roster last year. So
I guess let's ask Brad this, because I know you're a big Colts fan. What was it like when Peyton Manning decided he was done being a Colt?
Yeah, that was a very that was a tough situation because Jim Irsay had a decision to make. Andrew Luck was a generational quarterback, and he had a generational quarterback that was aging on the team. And Jim, the thing that people forget was that Peyton had what looked to be a possible career-ending injury. Right. So the timing couldn't have been worse or better, I guess. But, Peyton did come back, obviously, as we all know, and he won a Super Bowl, maybe 2. Can't remember with the Broncos. 1. His first year he went to the Broncos, he was just out of this world, old Peyton. So, it's tough, but I'm a huge Andrew Luck fan. I'm a huge Peyton Manning fan. I still have hope for Anthony Richardson. I'm the last one on that ship. But yeah, it's a tough thing. There's a lot of people in Indianapolis who still aren't over Peyton Manning not being on the team. And everyone can say, I told you so now. And some did, but a lot of people at the time thought Andrew Luck was the way to go. And fairly had an amazing but abbreviated career, and chose not to pursue football in his prime. And so it made the decision look really bad and looking back at it. But at the time, I wouldn't have wanted to be in Jim Irsay's shoes.
It happened kind of again. Andrew Luck just kind of up and retired, overnight, right? Yep. Like that. He didn't demand a trade and say, I hate the Colts. He just said his body couldn't do it. But your best player was on the team one day, and the next day he wasn't. And there was no.
And I don't know. We've had a couple little runs here and there. We had a nice year with Phillip Rivers in his last season that he ever played, but we've never truly recovered. I think there's a stat, we haven't won the AFC South, which is not what you would call a great division in a decade. Haven't won our first game of the year in about that long. So it's been a Manning curse, it feels like, or an Andrew Luck retirement curse, because the team has never functioned at the highest levels. The glory years were definitely the Manning years, that's for sure.
Well, knowing something a little bit about curses or not, I think it has less to do about curses, but it does prove more of the point. You've got to have that franchise quarterback.
Yeah, 100%.
And you've got two teams playing this Sunday, both with franchise quarterbacks. They found their guys, and Indianapolis had it. And if you don't have that, as we have not had in Cleveland, you're not going to win the big game.
Yeah, it really comes down to that every year, doesn't it? As much as you see teams that are these full, complete teams, and they have great regular seasons, when you look at the end of the year, it's always Mahomes. It's a lot of Mahomes. But it's also the Josh Allens and the Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts is a great quarterback, not probably at Mahomes level, but they do it more in a team approach. But it'll be interesting in the Super Bowl next Sunday to see, can the team approach take down the epic generational quarterback.
Does the Super Bowl and the teams playing in that affect the card market? Does a guy who has a big game or makes a big play?
Well, the answer is yes. And that I was going to bring that up. I think, as a card guy, I was rooting for the Buffalo Bills and for the Washington Commanders because, you would have Josh Allen and you'd have Jaden Daniels. Not that Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes aren't good. They are. But it was time for Josh Allen's cards to really explode. Patrick Mahomes' cards have. Where do they continue to go from here? I don't know. But it was really time for Josh Allen and his cards to really, really explode. And then Jaden Daniels, obviously, being the first year. I mean, gosh, if he would have done that, what would have happened with his cards? So for the card market, Josh Allen versus Jaden Daniels would have been the best matchup. Patrick Mahomes wins again. I mean, his cards are almost unaffordable for the most part as it is to the common person. I don't know how much more unaffordable they can get. And Jalen Hurts, I just don't know that his cards have really caught on yet. He's a solid quarterback. He's taken the team, to the AFC Championship game with 3 out of the last 4, or NFC, 3 out of the last 4 years in the Super Bowl. Maybe it's his time. If he wins, maybe his cards, really start gaining some notoriety.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting phenomenon where Jalen Hurts had his hype bubble, but since they didn't cash in on it, it's like we're on the other side of it. And it'll be interesting to see, does his cards get that much of a bounce if they're able to pull it off? Even if he's MVP of the Super Bowl, does he get that bounce, or did he miss his hype bubble to really get that bounce on? I will say this, I'll make this prediction. No matter what happens, the hottest card going at the National this summer will be Jaden Daniels. I mean, that's what everyone will be chasing. That's what everyone wants to prospect on. So will it have an effect on the market? I guess it solidifies, to Greenie's point. I think those cards are already unreachable for the most collectors. I don't know if a card can become even more unreachable. So I think Hurts has the most to gain, but I think still when you roll into this summer, it'll be what it always is. It'll be prospecting of whoever they think the next great one will be.
And listen,
speaking of unreachable, this card's unreachable, unattainable. Wanted to talk about this a little bit here. The Paul Skeens patch card that everybody was chasing. The 11-year-old kid in California found it. Apparently, this is going to auction. Greenie and I talked about this previously. What would you do? The Pittsburgh Pirates offered a bunch of stuff. Livy Dunn offered some stuff. His family's taking the card to auction. The money apparently will benefit the LA fire victims. So this has taken an interesting turn on this card as well. Brad, the first thing I'll ask you is what would you have done given the Pittsburgh Pirates offer to trade that card or take it to the auction houses?
Well, I will say before I answer, I do have a fondness for the Pittsburgh Pirates because my dad, I would go visit him in the summer, and he would take me to Three Rivers Stadium, and we would watch Barry Bonds and Andy Van Slyke and Bobby Bonilla. And so I do have affection, but there's no way in heck I would take that offer. I would, auction it and hopefully be benevolent enough to give some to charity. But and they made the argument that I think the cumulative value of the tickets, the 30 years worth of tickets, was like 1.3 million. That's nothing to sneeze about, but I would still, if I got expert advice from people that know the auction scene and they said that card would do $1 million, I think I would rather just cash it out and instead of holding on to the tickets. Though I guess there is a theory that you should take the tickets and slowly sell them off over time. But what do you guys think?
So ours is totally different. We're 90 minutes from Pittsburgh. I would have taken the Pirates deal for the amount of advertising that we could have used those tickets and the softball game at PNC Park. And so, yeah, obviously, would I want the money? Sure. But I think over the however many years, God willing, that we were able to still do this, I think the advertising money alone from having, tickets right behind home plate when Shohei Ohtani comes to town or whoever comes to town, or every fifth day when Paul Skeens is on the mound. I think for us, since we were that close to Pittsburgh, I would really, really have considered taking their deal.
Yeah. Do we all agree you move this card immediately, though? Whether you take the Pittsburgh deal or you,
yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Because I feel like one injury in July next year and 50% of the value of this card's gone.
It's not if he has Tommy John, it's when.
Yeah,
that's a pitcher. He's going to have it. So,
yeah, I don't know anything about the value of these cards or what they're worth, but I would move it right away.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And listen, I hope the guy has an unbelievable career and wins 5 Cy Youngs. I don't ever wish that injury, but I mean, Steven Strasburg and Tim Lincecum and, even, Clayton Kershaw's hurt, right? Pitchers are, I mean, the wear and tear on that arm is like nothing else. There's not going to be another 500 game winner, right? I don't know that we'll ever see another 300 game winner.
I will give credit to Tops and Fanatics. It's kind of a hobby within the hobby to beat up on the Panini and Tops and Upper Deck. I'll give them credit. They just invented this patch.
Unbelievable.
And now it's probably the premier card in the entire hobby. So to think of something in a hobby that's been trying to be redone over and over, and for it to have that much success, it was a great marketing concept for Tops and Fanatics.
So what's your take on all these players trying to get that card of themselves? Because rightfully, they cannot afford anybody, right? They can overpay for those cards.
It was interesting. I believe it was Triple Crown TJ who sets up at my JT who sets up at my show. He was doing a vlog and he said something to the effect of someone had one of these cards in their cases, and he said to the guy, "Have you reached out to the player himself?" And the guy was like, "Yeah, I think he said, yeah, I did," and he wasn't interested. I may be wrong on that. I have to go back and watch, but that's such a cool concept, right? That these guys might actually care. So many times you see live streams where they're not handling the cards properly and they're beating them up. I think it's very cool that a player cares about that card.
I think it's neat. But you're not going to see them change hands, right? Once that player gets that card's gone. It's out of circulation for probably ever, right? So I don't know that we're going to see these cards trading hands very often, unless the player obviously, like you said, has no interest in the card. But it's an interesting dynamic. It just really is. The players are actually collecting cards is one thing.
It takes a unique confluence of that too. Brad, I had an incredibly interesting and blessed experience with the dude from Hobby Ohio, Chaz, who hit a 101 Josh Young card earlier this year. And Josh is a collector, but apparently he only collects himself. He's on a quest to get his cards. but seeing that firsthand on the exchange and the joy he had in getting one of his cards, like, it is kind of where it belongs. It's their card, and to Greenie's point, it may go in a vault or on a shelf and it's never coming out. But the amount of players that actually collect and the confluence of having a one-on-one or a unique card, if they want it, then I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I agree. And them sharing that and them putting it on their social media only helps the overall health of the hobby.
Very good. Well,
Brad, let's talk about Shipshewana again as we wrap this up here. Give us the dates, the times, some highlights of what people can look forward to, and then where they can get more information.
Yeah, so we're actually getting ready to launch a brand new website coming up here in just a few days. But I would say the number one source until we get the new webpage up is, believe it or not, a Facebook group. It's the heart and soul of the show, but it's Shipshewana Card Fest -B Sports. I post 3-4 times a week, give updates, notes about things that are going on in the show. We have about 4,000 members, and it's very interactive, and we're blessed to have an active community like that. But so that's probably the best place right now. Also have an Instagram feed _sports where we share a lot. And also, if you like to see a random Indianapolis Colts card, you might see that pop up on my IG. But as far as the show goes, my elevator pitch for why you need to come out: new building, new format. If you loved the show or just really liked it in the past, we're just doubling down on everything. We have a kids scavenger hunt on Saturday. It's absolutely free. You go around the building and dealers mark off with stamps that you've been to their booth. At the end of it, you take it back to the kids scavenger hunt headquarter table where the Reckless card sits. And we have very generous contributions from companies like COMC, Zion, and we have let a lot of kids, at minimum, they're going to walk away with some packs, but at most they could walk away with slab mags, Zion cases, all kind of fun things. I'm very, very proud of that. We really support families at our show. The new part is Friday night. So 4 to 8 p.m. We are charging an admission for that, but for not only do you get the sneak peek, but we have one of the best, I think, trade nights in the Midwest from 8 to 10 p.m. And so from 4 to 10 p.m. for $10, you can not only meet with our dealers, but kind of play dealer at the end of the night. 12 and under is absolutely free all weekend. And then Saturday is also free admission all day long. And I will say that I know you guys get tremendous dealers, but I would put our dealers up against anyone. We have guys that go to Burbank, Dallas, and they bless us by coming to Shipshewana. So our front room is I say front room, Greenie. It's all one room now. I'm used to we used to have 4 rooms or whatever it was in the barn. So but it's all one room, and it's packed with quality dealers. I know when I wake up on a Saturday, sometimes I think that shows a 2.5 hour drive. That shows 3 hours. Is it going to be worth it when I get there? Greenie will be set up. I think he would verify it's worth the drive. You're going to really enjoy it.
Yep.
And if nothing else, Shipshewana, Indiana is a complete culture shock. There's as many buggies as there is cars, and you got to come and at least see that.
What I love about it is it's a good old-fashioned card show. It is just tables of cards, and it's dealers that want to wheel and deal. It is, and I know there's some glitz and glam coming to this one, but at the end of the day, it is a good old-fashioned card show. And I enjoy coming as a guest, and this time we'll be able to set up as vendors, and we look forward to it.
Well, and if I could plug one last thing. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
If I could plug one last thing, I remember at the beginning of the show you mentioned Pokemon TCG.
Right.
I would say when we first started our show in 2020, we might have had 2 tables of that type of stuff. We are almost 30 to 40 tables worth out of the 350 or 60 we'll have. There'll be 30, 40 just really strong Pokemon TCG dealers. So if that's your thing, I know it's hot right now. You will not be disappointed coming to this show. There's plenty to look at from that perspective as well.
Good.
That's the Shipshewana Card Fest taking place Friday, February 28th. You've got your sneak preview night, 4 to 8 p.m. Kids 12 and under are free. And then Saturday, March 1st, the show runs 9 to 4 p.m. with free admission. So, Brad, our sincere thanks for joining us, for all you do for the hobby, for your events, and we look forward to catching up again.
Thank you so much, guys. I always appreciate it.
Yep. We'll see you in a few weeks, Brad. Looking forward to it.
Greenie.
Thanks.
All right, Greenie. Another hour blew by. Our thanks to Haley behind the board. Real quick, we did want to mention a pretty exciting event coming up this weekend at Cleveland State University. Both the men's and women's. Greenie Sports Cards is doing team sets for both the men's and women's game on Youth Day. The first 150 kids that go to the game, doubleheader that day, are going to get team sets for both the men's and women's games at Cleveland State University. Very cool stuff.
We love doing that. And we're going to start, you're going to start seeing us doing a lot more of that with some other schools that, hopefully we'll be able to share that in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, we love being a part of Cleveland State University with the women's team and now with the men's team. So Saturday, the 8th, get to that doubleheader. I mean, it's a fun time too. I mean, and not, Coach Kielsmeyer says it, man, like just come out and check it out. It is fun. And the men are 13 in a row. Is that where we're at?
Yeah. They think they play tomorrow night. It might be 14 by that point.
Right. So they're one of the hottest teams in the country, and it's a mid-major.
It's great basketball. Greenie, our thanks to you. Our thanks to Brad Beeman, Shipshewana Card Fest. We will see you next week with Izzy Geraci and Cam Justice. And appreciate all you do, Greenie. May the cards forever be in your favor.
Yeah, I appreciate it out here in sunny Phoenix, Arizona, where we will spend the week celebrating my mother's birthday. So I'm happy to be here. And thanks, Jeremy, for hosting. And we will catch you guys next time. So have a good night, everybody.